Every American should be looking at this and should be thinking about the profound impact of what has happened and what has come out as far as the relationship between Twitter and the FBI. So let me try and explain it this way, and maybe it'll make more sense. The FBI has had relationships with Silicon Valley companies and universities for decades. And of course, the purpose of those relationships has been to ferret out and to identify hostile intelligence service activity. Now, it's true that over the years, and certainly as a mainstay, particularly communist intelligence services like the KGB, the old KGB, certainly the current intelligence services of Russia, of the Chinese, disinformation, misinformation, indoctrination, all these things are part of their playbook, not part of the American government playbook. We don't operate that way, okay? So over the years, disinformation, the way the FBI has dealt with it, has been used by the FBI to go and try and talk to people who are the targets of recruitment, the known targets of recruitment by hostile intelligence services. And disinformation is a factor in convincing those people to work for the bad guys, essentially. What are some examples of so-called disinformation that they use to recruit people or that they've used for decades? Well, they've said America doesn't need it. Its southern border was stolen from Mexico. America's a racist country. America's Constitution was written by people who are white supremacists. I'm not making this up. These were the kinds of things that we have dealt with for decades. And these are the kinds of things spies from communist countries told other Americans to try to essentially affect their thinking. And of course, now this thinking is permeating our entire country and all of its institutions, but it's now coming from our own government in the form of things like critical race theory. So enter the FBI and these decades of relationships. Today, disinformation, instead of being something we look at and we kind of focus on with individuals to try and turn them around and protect them from being recruited. Today, disinformation has become suppression of information when we, most Americans, may disagree with things, whether they're climate change or whether it's critical race theory or whether a Democrat should be in the White House. So we've always disagreed on those kinds of things. We disagree on everything, and we don't try and change people's opinions. The FBI used to try and use disinformation, or not disinformation, but used to try and counter disinformation. And it was the kind of disinformation directed at individual people, not what is going on now, whether we've literally turned it into a suppressive tool to counter people's opinions if it's offensive to the people in power. And that's where we are. And that is what you see now coming out of the relationship involving Twitter and involving the FBI, because the FBI has become the Democratic Party. And I'm sorry to say this, but they're in power. And this is the kind of stuff that they peddle. So the FBI has become the Democratic Party middleman in talking to companies like Twitter. And you can bet they're talking to Twitter, Facebook, Google, all of these companies, because I used to work out there. I know exactly what they're up to. But this is not the way that we used to run counterintelligence campaigns, because quite honestly, this is not counterintelligence. This is using a page from the communist playbook to suppress how Americans think.